I'll do my little thing. Hello and welcome today. I'm Kara. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here. And so I'm really excited to have our speaker here today, Meetra. And without any further ado, I'll pass it off.
Hi everyone, my name is Meetra, and today I will be talking about my first book, Disability to Disability. It is about my journey living with spina bifida. Does anybody here, other than my mother, know what spina bifida is? Okay. So it's a neural tube birth defect, which basically means split spine. So when I was born, my spinal column was protruding from my back. And so I had to have repair surgery when I was really young to fix that. There are 4 different types of spina bifida. My type is myelomeningocele, and scientifically, it is one of the worst or more severe types, but I don't usually see it that way. So, yeah. But anytime while I'm talking, feel free to ask any questions. I actually prefer more Q&A than just me blurbing. But I will start with reading the beginning part of my book. Pretend for a moment that you are around the ages of elementary to middle school years. You're excited to enter a new school, have new teachers for classes, and have the potential to meet new friends. You've gotten a new backpack, supplies, and even a new cute outfit to make the best first impression. Everything will be great, or so you hope. New year, new state of mind. At least that's what you tell yourself to calm your nerves. Now picture this exact scenario. But this time around, you have a physical disability. You're nervous and excited that this could mean new opportunities for you where you can start again, so to speak. Meet new lifelong friends and truly enjoy the educational experiences. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, the following thoughts race. What if this new school is exactly like elementary? Who will stand up for me? Will I be strong enough to stand up to the taunts and crude remarks? You may even go so far as to consider, can I go through the next 3 years invisible? Spoiler alert, you can't. You stick out like a zebra in the middle of a pride of lions during feeding time. All you're missing is an invisible sign that's clearly on your forehead and back that states, pick on me. That absolutely has to be why these situations happen to you. What would you do? What can you do? Who can you rely on? Do you recall seeing anyone needing someone else to stand up for them? What stopped you, or what may have prevented this from happening? In this memoir, I've shared my journey and experiences while growing up living with spina bifida in hopes I can inspire even one person to embrace their uniqueness and let it shine. If I can make an impact on just one individual, I may be able to help shape the world of disabilities, one kind gesture at a time. I want people to understand what it looks like to not give up. I want people to understand there can be happiness within the midst of travesty. I hope to show people that despite differences, there really is a way we can all be there for each other, just like all humans deserve. We're all capable of achieving our dreams and goals, as well as maybe even inspiring someone to go out and truly live their life to the fullest. Whether you have a disability or not, we are not promised a tomorrow, and yesterday is history. I know that's inspiration porn, and that isn't always the best, but here's the deal. If I can inspire someone to get off the couch, to not listen to their own excuses, solely because I am out here in the world doing my best, then that's amazing. We all need inspiration. It doesn't matter where it comes from. All we can do is live our lives in the best way possible today, however that looks for you. Do something you may have always wanted to do, and put your best effort forward. Don't ever go into something thinking you won't succeed and doubting yourself, because in doing so, you are setting yourself up to back out or not complete the challenge. Focus on what you are able to accomplish, but never settle for giving up. Just because you may not be able to do something right away does not mean you are a failure. In turn, just because you may have certain limitations does not mean you cannot challenge yourself. It does not mean you are not worthy of being loved or having an amazing life. All of these are up for you to decide for your own life. All humans need help in one way or another. Do not ever be ashamed or embarrassed to ask for guidance and support. I know I have been in the past. What I have learned, though, after my experiences thus far, is that by having the courage to ask for help actually shows a sign of maturity and takes a lot for anyone to do. Even so, sometimes as a friend, the best thing you can do is simply check in with others. Whether it's a simple text, "Hey, how are you?" or "I'm here for you." All of these are genuine gestures showing you care. A simple act of kindness and friendship goes a long ways. You are stronger than your greatest doubts and fears. Nothing is impossible, and if you put your mind to it and towards it. I hope this book inspires you to go out and be kind to a stranger, look up from your phone screen once in a while, smile at someone, or hold the door. No random act of kindness is too small. You never know whose day or potentially life you are changing. So that is the beginning part. Before I talk more, I would like to open it up to some questions and then we can kind of have a dialogue. Is there anything specific anybody would like to know in general? I'm looking at you too.
What did you do to overcome?
Okay. In middle school? Middle school, I pushed it down, deep down, and I ignored it. High school is when I overcame things. Middle school, I drew a blank over middle school. Middle school was probably the height of my bullying, and the taunts and being looked at. And high school, my sophomore year of high school was really mentally where I came to a point that I just wasn't going to let what people thought of me matter to me. That only what I thought of, what my friends thought of me was more important. And at that point, I really was able to start helping others in my high school with disabilities start standing up for themselves as well. And at that point, I befriended a couple upperclassmen, which really helped because if someone was bullying me, they did kind of step in and helped change that. But I would say through 5th grade to 8th grade, I drew a blank over because of the bullying. It's hard. It's hard to say you can just overcome it when you're a kid and you're learning yourself, who you are, and making friends. But I did have a really good core group of friends through elementary and middle school that really helped shape that and help me move forward and ignore people, but it still hurts.
Middle school is a hard time in general for many.
Well, middle school is really when you're just learning about yourself and making friends, because that's more where the cliques start. And did it work now?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Oh.
I don't know why. Let's pretend I'm not here.
It's technology. It's okay. But middle school, or not middle school, high school, after I learned to stop letting the influence of other people's opinions, I started a animal organization at my school, and I had to go through the whole process of creating a petition, getting signatures, and getting people who actually wanted to join. So that was another interesting experience because I had to be pushed into the light and had to go to different classes and talk about the group I wanted to start and who I was and all of that. So more people had to know who I was. And so even though I wasn't necessarily popular in my school, everyone knew of me because of the different aspects that I did in high school. Yeah, And I mean, so I'll talk, I guess I'll segue into this though. So one of the reasons I started this book was in 2020. I had temporarily lost the job I had at that time due to COVID. And so for 6 months, I was off of work, and I was alone in my apartment, and I really fell into a mental health crisis, I called it. And I got a psychologist, and at that time, he actually suggested, well, write down your thoughts and try to see if getting them out of my brain helped. Well, the more I wrote down my mental health issues, I started realizing, hey, that could actually be a paragraph, or hey, that could be turned into a chapter. And so I started writing this in 2020, and actually did most of it while I was off of work. And then my company offered me a new position, so I started a new role as a community support manager for adults with disabilities. And so my current role, I do in-home care, and I oversee like 4 staff. And so I have a variety of roles that I kind of do. But as we talk, there will be some photos, and I can talk a little bit about those. One of the main events that I have done in my life is an event called Red Bull 400. And I went out to Park City, Utah, and Red Bull 400 is basically where you climb 400 meters up a ski jump. And so in 2019, a group of us, 4 of us, went out there, and we were one of I think there was only 2 other groups with disabilities that were racing, and we were in a non-disabled heat, and we climbed it. And it was probably one of my greatest experiences, just because I was not only challenging myself and what I thought I was capable of, but the support we received there just from other athletes racing was really incredible, because I've just never had that support in other races I've done. And so that really shaped, so here are some of those photos. So that's really shaped a lot of what I want to see from others in the community. And I haven't been able to go back to do that race, but it is my hope to start an adaptive fitness team to do that Red Bull 400 race with other adaptive athletes. Because Red Bull and the Park City, Utah company that did that, they were very accommodating. They really wanted us to succeed, and so they gave us whatever time we needed to achieve however much we wanted to climb, or however long we wanted to climb. And I was really proud of myself, because I gave my own goal as to finish it in an hour. I finished the climb in 45 minutes. So I was very happy that I at least did my goal. But it was very hard, because it was like almost a 45-degree angle at some spots. So if you weren't hanging on to the rope, you could slide all the way back down. And I still joke with the one gentleman that I was communicating with here. He gave me 3 rules that I had to follow. One was, don't fall down, so don't roll down the hill. Don't die, and don't need a helicopter rescue. And I said, well, I will try to not do any of those. And by the time I got back up, I was like, see, you should be proud. I didn't need any of those. But there was one gentleman, unfortunately, in my heat who did need a helicopter rescue. They had to literally bring him down, because no paramedic could climb up there to get them because of how steep it was. But I was very happy that I did not need that. Another one that a proud moment was the first time that I traveled independently. I did independent travel internationally to Brazil, and that's where I met my ex at that time, and I stayed there for 2 months. And we got to travel throughout Brazil and gain, new experiences and a new language. It was very difficult because they understand some Spanish, but Portuguese and Spanish don't really line up. And so me trying to speak half Portuguese, half English to them didn't work very well. So it was lots of pointing and note cards. Yeah. I don't know if you guys want me to read more. Otherwise, if you have questions, I would love to open up to dialogue.
What did you do after high school?
After high school, I got a job. I was working as a cashier at the time, but right after I went to Edgewood College for a 3-year program. My degree originally was early childhood, regular, and special education. By the time I graduated with a bachelor's in studies in education. But while at Edgewood College, I worked with a program called the Cutting Edge Program. And so I supported adults with disabilities at college, and that actually became my job. After I graduated, I became a live-in peer mentor. And so that I did that for about 2 years. And that was an experience, because that was my first time moving out of my parents' house, living independently, but then I was also having to teach 3 college students how to live independently as well. And so for that first year, it was a zoo. But it was a very good experience. I learned a lot, and it honestly shaped what I wanted to do in my future. I have always wanted to work with individuals with disabilities like myself, because growing up, I don't really remember having another disabled mentor or someone to say, hey, this is the experience I went through, this is what worked, what didn't work, and I knew that I kind of wanted to be that for other people. In my personal experience, I haven't met a lot of other individuals as adults with spina bifida, but I do have like a small group of core friends that I have met. And so my college time at that program really helped shape where I wanted to go. And from there, I became a job coach, again, for people with disabilities, and then my current role. So other than my cashier job, I've always worked with people with disabilities. And writing now. Yeah.
So you mentioned in middle school and high school with bullying, you really just had to stop caring what other people thought. And what struck me is that takes a lot of grit, a lot of endurance, a lot of self-actualization work. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on how to develop some of those skills, or what sorts of things did you do to really have that self-reliance?
I can't take credit for that. I will say that's my parents. I was raised to always, you can correct me, Mom, if I'm wrong, but you guys pushed me to challenge myself. We went rock climbing when I was really young, like at Devil's Lake. I was pushed, to do different things as my older brother. We're 18 months apart. I was pushed to do things that he was doing. Yes, we had times where, okay, you have to be careful, but I was always trying to do different things. And as I got older and more aware of myself, I do push myself. And I always like to say, there isn't anything you can't do unless you've tried it. And for me, I have to try something a couple different times in a couple different ways to see if it's adaptable, to see if there's a way that I can do it that will work for me before I say, okay, I can't really do that. And one of the things for me is riding a bike. I don't ride bikes. I don't like it. And that's because I don't like not having that balance. Like growing up, I did ride a trike, and I think I tried riding a two-wheeler, but I just did not like the stability, lack of stability, and even doing tandem bikes with my family, I hated not having that stability of my feet are on the ground and I could just tip. And so I do think that family, and for parents who are raising a child with spina bifida, it really comes down to believing in them, believing that working with where they're at, whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they use a walker, that you can still try things. And 9 times out of 10, there is a way to adapt those things that you're doing. It might not look the same for everybody, but that doesn't make it any less. You're still able to accomplish it. And so you just have to set your goals based on where you're at. And that's one of the things that I've always just had to learn. For the longest time, I would say I was terrified. I was terrified of curbs because for me, it didn't matter how small they were, how big they were. To me, it looked like a mountain, like especially going down them. Going up them, I was fine, but going down them, still to this day, for me, it's the balance. It's the terrifying of, okay, where's your foot gonna go? And a lot of that is practice, and I had to learn to be okay with falling. I was always afraid of falling, and I've had to learn to be okay with, okay, now I'm on the ground, now what? One of the things I do, I mostly do it at the gym. I don't do it a lot when I'm out, but if I fall at the gym, I yell, "Gravity still works over here." And that's just been like my coping thing. And then I pick myself back up. And honestly, there are some people who have followed and started saying that now. So I'm like, hey, it works. So now I just do random gravity checks at the gym. I mean, the other day when I did fall, a couple weeks ago, I remember the gym owner coming over like, "You good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was just testing the gravity over here for you." He's like, "Okay, well, does it still work?" "Yep." So I try to make light of certain things, because it is scary when you fall, when you lose balance. I mean, I've had my share of falls. I don't remember the exact fall, but I remember falling one time when I was really young, and I chipped my front teeth. And so like it is scary. But knowing that you can pick yourself back up, and knowing that I have to concentrate on picking my feet up. I drag one of my feet more than the other, and so when I walk, it's more like I'm stomping. But that's because I'm actively trying to remember to pick both of my feet up. And yes?
I was going to ask, so in relation to outside of a physical disability, how do you see or help those with that disability that's not seen?
How do I?
Yeah, how can you help a person that is a disability that's not seen?
I think it still can work in the same aspect. I think because I have a learning disability, and so cognitively, I need to, like for me, I'm a visual, auditory, and hands-on learner. And so that is a lot of the time, for example, like with my individuals that I work with, that is often how I do things with them. When I'm trying to teach them a new task that they maybe haven't done enough, I use all 3 of those learning skills with them. I will show them what I'm doing or what I want them to do. I will do it, and then I will have them do it, or I will have them do it side by side with me. And that has really helped them gain their own independence to learn skills in their own apartment that they might not have known before. And because some of my individuals are nonverbal, it's hard to tell what their learning skills are. So I just know from my own experience, I just throw all 3. And if the first one goes and they learn it, then I don't have to do the other 2. But if they don't, then I do the shadow, you help me, now you try it. Then I will do it that way. And that has helped me both in my job coaching and in my current position. And a lot of my friends who have disabilities, that's what I tell them, is we'll try it first. Or if you don't know how to do it, do you want me to show you? Or do you want me to talk you through it? And there's times where I just text them and I said, okay, this is what I did. Here's the step-by-step. Now you try it, let me know. And it's worked. But I think it's finding the rhythm of what's going to work for that unique person, because we all have different needs. And so it's just a matter of finding what's going to work and meeting in the middle. I try to meet people where they're at and build from there with those skills. Yeah. This photo is actually, I forgot when we started it. Do you remember how long it's been? August, okay. So I founded a adaptive fitness program in a local gym in Madison called Peter Kraus Fitness. And so every Wednesday, a group of us with different disabilities meet, and we have an hour-long workout with a trainer. And he adapts the workout to each of our needs, whether we're in a wheelchair, walker. Majority of our workouts are upper body, but he works with us where we're at to gain the strength that we're looking for. And I'm very grateful that the owner was open to opening his gym and providing that space for us, because I haven't seen that at a lot of gyms. I've been to different gyms where I've had trainers who work with where I'm at, but I've never actually had multiple people with disabilities at a gym, in the middle of everybody, where everybody can just see us working out and seeing what we're doing. And so having that community is something that I've always wanted. And so it's really great that we have that. And I'm hoping to build more on it, because right now I think we have 4 of us. But I'm hoping to get more people involved and, spread the word more about it. Because my big goal is to host an event with the owner of the gym for an adaptive fitness and have just everybody come out, whether you have a disability or not, even if you have an injury and you just need something adapted, but building that community that we are all supporting one another and being there to help one another. Yeah.
I just finished reading the book Sitting Pretty by Rebecca.
Oh,
Joseph.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you read that?
I've started it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very that's why I came today.
Yeah.
I figured I don't know very much about, So anyhow.
Yeah, I feel like not necessarily just our community, but disability isn't very well talked about. And I think there's a couple different aspects to that. There's some where people see disability as a bad word and they don't want to use it because they think, oh, we can't say that, or they might make us feel bad. And then the other people are just unfamiliar with it. And so I think being able to be that bridge where you're kind of brought more into the light to show that disability doesn't have to be a bad word and that people don't have to be afraid. I know for me growing up, whether it was a random stranger, whether it was my friends, I did feel guilty asking for help because I was the slowest person in the group. I was the one who needed more help. Whether it was walking on uneven surfaces or steps, because I really can't do steps unless there's a railing. And so I always felt guilty asking for help, but the more I grew and starting writing this, I understood that without using our voice, people aren't going to know what we need help with, nor are they going to know that changes need to be made. Because there's times now just going out to businesses here in Madison where I will actually try to talk to an owner saying, hey, those stairs were kind of difficult, there's no railing. I mean, I was able to do it because I used my walking stick sometimes, but without a walking stick, there was no way that I was going to do those stairs. And I tried to see if there's a way that they could put in a railing or a ramp, or, you know, if there's any way that things could be changed. Sometimes you can't.
Yeah, do you notice sometimes that people try to be too helpful?
Not for me,
Okay.
not for me personally, but yes. I have noticed that, especially with the individuals that I support. There are a lot of people who will just try to take over and step right in, and I have to be like, nope, let them try. They will ask for help. Even when I'm training people in my programs, people try to take over, and it's because they don't necessarily have the patience to wait. But I've had to have the mindset of, okay, if this takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes to figure out, we're going to sit here. Let's figure it out. But growing up, I would say there were times that people tried to help, but I also was just very vocal on, if I need help, I will tell you. And most of the time people could pick up me trying to figure it out over and over, and then they could realize, okay, yeah, you need help. But I think
Say as a parent, you're a parent, are you the mom or parent there?
No, I work at high school and no, Savannah from there.
Savannah?
Yeah.
I would only say as a parent, you want to do whatever you can for your child, no matter what child you have. And it's sometimes that I know, it's like, I can do it faster than you can, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Versus allowing that time. And I think we see that with any kid we have. And sometimes it's like having to sit there
But that's just it.
and make mistakes and think you do.
But that's just it. Like you said, Mom, yes, it is faster. But I think about it in the perspective of like my clients now, my individuals. If I continue to do it over and over for them, just because it's faster, they're never going to learn to live independently. And even if it's something as small as, here, you hold the dustpan, I will brush, or I will do the broom, or here, you dry the dishes, or whatever it might be, whatever small step of independence we can provide for other people with disabilities, they are going to feel that, they're going to feel proud of their own accomplishments versus us just taking over because it's faster. And I know it takes a lot of patience, and there are a lot of my staff who are still learning that patience, but I just have to remind them, like, you're literally getting paid to help them learn this, so please just do it. Because I think that having that sense of pride, knowing that those individuals did that on their own with minimal help, or they tried to do it on their own before asking for help, really boosts people's egos and their self-esteem. Because a lot of people come from backgrounds where everyone just did things for them, whether it's because they thought it was faster or whether they thought they're never going to learn this. Well, they weren't given a chance. And that's one of the things that I try to tell people when I'm talking to parents with newborns or young children with spina bifida. Let them try. One person actually just yesterday messaged me that their 5-year-old girl learned how to do the curb with her walker by herself. And, you know, we talked about how she taught her how to lift it up, how to lift it up, balance on the curb first, and then like lift herself up. And she was so proud of it. But if you don't give them that opportunity, they aren't gonna know what they're capable of doing. And I know there are times where I've learned it even now, in 35 years old, where I was like, oh, wait, I was able to do that by myself. I mean, Mom can tell you, I call her for random things. But, you know, those sense of pride of figuring things out on your own, it's something that people without disabilities do without even thinking of. But having that disability added onto your life is just another roadblock to try to overcome. And so every baby step that parents that are able to help push their children for, I think is very beneficial.
Yeah. You know, and it's so important that people ask you if you need help.
Yes.
You know, like, this happens with old people too. I'm old, I hate to, well, I don't mind admitting it, I'm glad to be old. But, you know, you've got people who just, if you're walking more slowly because maybe my hip hurts, you know, they come right in there and they try to take my arm, and I'm thinking, really? I mean, I've been walking a long time now, and, you know, if they say, would you like some help?
Yes.
That would be different.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yep. And I feel like there were some times where people overstepped, but I am pretty quick. If someone starts to help, I'm pretty quick to state whether or not I need the help. But other times, I just let it roll off. I'm like, you wanted help, okay, we're good, you know. But I do know that there are people who don't like that at all. But it is a better idea to ask before you just start helping. Because, I mean, if you're in a wheelchair, no one wants you to start pushing them. They don't want to be pushed around unless they ask for it. I had clients who were that way. They're like, well, you're walking, you could just push me. Yeah, I could, but you have 2 arms, so could you. You know, and so it was more of them figuring out their own wheelchair and me only helping if there was like a hill or something like that. But I mean, even that race, when those photos come back up, there were times where people, not necessarily me, but other people that were on my team, where they were trying to step in. And it's like, nope, let them figure this out. Let them figure out where they need to put their feet and how to climb. And so it was a learning experience for everybody. And I think just being able to talk to everybody and talk about where we're at and what we can do is something that is also helpful. But I know you can't do that to everybody that you walk up to on the street, because that would take a long time. Yeah, so, oh, nope, it's the next photo. Yeah, so like that hill, there was definitely times where people were passing me and they were like, do you need help? I'm like, nope, I'm just hanging on. Because like there was one point I remember my legs were starting to become like jelly because of how steep it was. And so I was just hanging on and trying not to slide down. And so I was just resting there and people were like, do you need a boost? Nope. I'm like, I'm hanging out here for now. And I mean, that race, I honestly had to take it meter by meter. And like I got to the first one, 100 meters, I rested, got to the second one, took a break. But I think as long as you're able to go at your own pace, there really isn't anything that you're not capable of achieving. You just have to challenge yourself and be okay with sometimes failing and falling. Yeah. And the bottom photo is in Honduras. I think, yeah, La Ceiba. And I went on a trip with my mom's work. We did some volunteering there. And that was quite an experience because it is very not accessible. There's a lot of like cobblestone and just different terrain that I had to navigate. But it was a really good experience. Wasn't there a cobblestone, or am I thinking of Brazil?
They both had it.
Okay. Because I thought that one town we went to, there was a slope, there was some. And so just seeing the differences in different countries, how they're not really set up. But when I stayed in Brazil, I remember talking to the family and a couple locals. They don't have really anything for people with disabilities. They're kind of just there. And so when you need accommodations, a lot of the time they just tell you to stay home. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't really work. We kind of want to be able to go out. There were a couple restaurants I remember going to that did have like an elevator when there was an upstairs area that we had to go to. But otherwise, it was very Very different from the US, where we have options to get around. The next page has where I did some personal training. And again, the personal trainer at the time met me where I was at, and we worked on what I was hoping to achieve, which usually is balance, stability, and core. To this day, I still find this hilarious, but the trainer, the bottom photo, the trainer had me push the sled machine. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's where people push it, and it usually has like weights. Well, he had me push it outside on the cement. I don't know why, but he thought it would be a great challenge to go over like the tar and go over that. Well, I ended up breaking it. And I kind of wanted to say, well, I told you so, because I was like, this isn't made for outside. But he wanted proof that I broke it, so he had me take a picture with the broken machine. The next page is the Red Bull 400 one. And again, that honestly was just one of the greatest experiences, because meeting the other athletes who are very supportive and just cheering you on is something that I've just never experienced before. The last photo on the bottom there is with one of the first place winners. His name is Miles, and he actually came and introduced himself and stated that he watched us race and how inspiring we were. And to this day, I still communicate with him, which is pretty amazing. That, you know, he's been following along with my journey, and yeah. The next, let's see, that's Red Bull. Oh, another one I did was the Festival for Foods Turkey Trot. That one should have been easy for me, but wasn't, because there was ice. They did it in November around Thanksgiving, and it was the time that we just got snow. So it was very slippery, and I actually walked that one with now the gym owner, Peter Krause. He walked that with me, and still a great experience, still met a bunch of people, but I don't think I'll go back in November for that. Because there were hills, and it was very slippery. But I wanted this book to just help people like myself who might not think that they can do things, or were people, for me growing up, I didn't meet a lot of other children with spina bifida, other than at events we went to, or the random times you would run into somebody. I kind of want more people to know that there are others like you, and it's just about networking and finding them. And so, like, one of the things I am working on, other than another big book, is I am working on a children's series. So I have 4 children's books coming out, one about making friends, one about travel, bullying, and I think relationships. And so I'm kind of gearing that more towards the children level and picture book. Because I don't really remember seeing representation in children's books growing up. So hopefully I'll have that out here within this next year. But it's a process. Yeah.
What advice, so I work with high schoolers.
Yeah.
What advice, I would think about that a lot, like they don't often see people like themselves out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice for how to connect that with others with disabilities?
So I personally think that networking is the biggest thing. Like, a lot of friends that I have made have been online. So whether that's social media, honestly, that's how I met Savannah, is her mom connected with me on social media. And I think that word of mouth, like I always tell people, if you know anybody who is a new parent with spina bifida, or if you know someone with spina bifida, give them my information. And so, like, I'll have people in emails saying, hey, my cousin has spina bifida, can I pass the information? Or just knowing like events like what we do at PK Fit, just knowing that events like that are here is crucial because you can just show up. You can come check it out. If you want to pay for the class, you can. Otherwise, you can just watch it. But I think having more events based around whether it's spina bifida or just disabilities in general and posting about it is really helpful because otherwise you don't really hear anything. I post about things like on the Nextdoor app, but I don't genuinely hear about things unless I personally am involved. And so I think it's really hard. And I haven't really seen a lot of things happen here in Madison. In Wauwatosa, where the spina bifida base is, a lot of events do happen there. But you have to then travel and find transportation, which I know a lot of adults with spina bifida who don't drive, that transportation is difficult because if public transportation doesn't take you all the way there, you can't necessarily attend all of these events. And so I am trying to create more local meetups. Right now, I think I just created the page on Facebook, but I am trying to create a monthly meetup group where we either go to like a coffee shop or a restaurant or whatever it is, but have a monthly meetup where anybody with a disability can just come. You can network, you can meet new friends, and we can plan new activities where we go to a movie or just do something. So I am trying to get that rolling. I probably will post about it again on Nextdoor or some other place. But my big goal for Madison is to host an adaptive fitness like event at a park. And I know that Spina Bifida of Wisconsin isn't in a place where they can do this right now, but like my long-term huge goal is to create a mentorship program where adults with spina bifida or young adults with spina bifida can be paired with a child or a tween with spina bifida, and then the teen can just like text me, hey, I'm dealing with this. What advice do you have? Or even if they just need a vent, I would really like to see us paired with younger individuals with spina bifida. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to do that with Spina Bifida of Wisconsin, but that is one of my goals. And it might have to be something that's more nationwide, because maybe another organization can help with that. But I think starting in Wisconsin would be a really good starting point. I mean, the one thing that I started writing down names, but I'm just going to start contacting schools and saying, hey, I am an author, local author to Madison with spina bifida. Do you have any individuals with spina bifida? If so, can I come talk? Or can I come meet with them? Or, maybe even just in the special education program. Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I would love to be able to do that, even just with like the teachers, just to share my experiences with school. And because I mean, the special education program that I went through really helped me at school. And so I've been looking into that more. So we'll be in touch. Yes. Well, and it's interesting that when you mentioned that disclosing disability, I was actually just asked by another friend in one of my groups that I have with spina bifida, when I started applying for jobs, they asked, well, did you tell the employer you were disabled? And for me, that's a given. I said, well, why wouldn't you? Well, they'll just deny you. Not necessarily, though. Because for me, I feel like if I don't disclose that I have a physical disability and then I come for that interview, and whether they see me with my gait or with my walking sticks or whatever, I feel like that I lied to them. And so for me, I've just always, I'm not ashamed of my disability, so I'll tell you I have a disability. But I try to teach my folks now, you need to tell people about your disability because it's just part of who you are. It just makes you who you are, but it doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing things. And I think It is disheartening because there are some employers who see the label disability and just all of a sudden say, well, nope, you're not right for the job because you're disabled. And so I do see why some people don't disclose it right away. I just think it hurts you in the long run to not just be honest with the potential employer. And I am very fortunate that this company that I work with, Community Living Connections, works with people with disabilities, so I felt very confident talking about my disability, what my restrictions were, what I will do, what I won't do, and they have always been accommodating. There are days now when I do a big grocery shopping on Wednesday with one of my clients that I can't always lift the huge 12 packs, 24 packs of water from my car to get into her apartment. So there are days where I will call my supervisor and say, hey, are you down the street at the office? And she'll tell me yes or no. And she'll be like, yep, I'm on my way. And she brings the water. Or my client will have to carry it, or, you know. So it's for me, it's been helpful to tell them up front because they help me work with the job to make it my best. And then I can support my clients to the best of my ability. So I think it's a catch-22, being able to tell them, but being worried that telling them means that they're going to deny you the job. Correct, right. They're just going to automatically deny you because, oh, well, you're disabled. But as...
Well, I think
But that's what I'm saying.
for them to deny you a job because of a disability anyway.
But that's what I'm saying is I feel like as an employer, people should be more open to at least talking about it. Like, yes, you can be hesitant to accept someone with a disability, but at least talk about, okay, what are your restrictions? What would you need help with? Because most things are adaptable, and most restrictions can easily be going around. I mean, my restrictions when I worked at their office was I just couldn't lift the heavy boxes of the paper. And so it was once a week I had to call someone down to lift the 4 heavy boxes. But everything else I was able to do or work around.
I mean, the American with Disabilities Act says you have to make those accommodations. It's just unless it's a very tiny employer.
Yes, right. Or unless that's a huge aspect of the job.
Right.
But then at that token, I wouldn't apply for it.
Right.
Because then I'm like, eh.
Just FYI, what is in Monona, they recently opened a coffee shop.
Yes.
It's what's it called?
A job abilities.
So they hired.
I was going to tell Savannah that's one of the places I think we should go as a group. Because that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I've been wanting Milwaukee, but yeah, it's nice to have one closer.
Yeah, yep. They do have weird hours though.
Yeah.
I'll look them up again, but I want to say it was like 6 to 2. So.
It's a coffee shop.
Yeah. But it doesn't help when I work all day and then want to be able to go there.
Well, it is 2 o'clock, so about time to wrap up here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The talk was really great. I really enjoyed it. You know, modern life is so isolating that when we can find times when we can come together and connect about something, it's really beautiful. So
It is.
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
I do, if anybody wants to see them, I do have stickers, bookmark, and my books.
Yes. So thank you all for coming.